I used to be an academic. I burned through my PhD in 3 years, and I launched myself full throttle into an academic career. I started at a small university where I could learn the ropes, get my feet wet, figure things out. Took extra classes in pedagogy because I wanted to be an awesome professor like the ones I had had when I was in grad school. After a couple of years, I moved to a bigger university, more opportunities for personal and professional growth. While I was there, I worked really hard to be a great professor. I wanted to be that professor that every student wanted to take a class from. I also really put a lot of effort into taking advantage of every opportunity and avenue that I could to research and present and publish. Then one day, the unthinkable for an academic happens. I was pulled into my chair's office, and I was told, "You're not getting tenure." And I'm not gonna lie, it sucked the wind out of me. Here I had worked, doing everything I thought I needed to do to earn that shiny gold star of tenure, and I'm being told, that's not gonna happen. So I spent the next few weeks and months obsessing about the justifications I'd been given for this decision and really trying to figure out, like, what's next. I could, of course, go on the academic job market, find a new college, start over, but then I faced that same tenure climb and potential rejection that I'd just lived through. Maybe I could go into the private sector, but how? Academics really aren't taught how to live outside of the bubble. Or maybe take a little time off. But again, how? Academics are really taught that if you stop moving, your research agenda moves on without you. It was at this point where I had a paradigm shift in my life. I decided to put time into the things that I loved and realized I could take my academic skills and translate them into something I was passionate about, and that's animal rescue. Now, the point of this talk is not to tell you how much I love dogs or rescue. There literally is not enough time on the planet for that. And y'all are lucky that they didn't let me bring my phone in because we would have been here looking at dog photos all night. Instead, the point tonight is to explain to you how I was able to take the arsenal of skills that I learned as an academic and translate them into something successful and rewarding outside of the Ivory Tower. I founded an organization called Reggie's Friends and entered the stage of my life that I like to call Dr. Dog. The first skill that I brought with me to my new life was problem solving. The root of all academic pursuit is problem identification and solution. The same was true of the rescue. I looked at the challenges that other rescue organizations had faced, and I took my understanding of audiences as a new media scholar, and I got to work. I built a digital foundation for our rescue and got my dog's Facebook page, Reggie, his personal Facebook page, to 12,000 fans. Please don't judge that. While having the fans is really great, you have to know what to do with them once you have them. Having 12,000 people hanging around doesn't do you any good if you don't know how to engage them. So the second skill that I brought with me, audience analysis and reach. In an academic world, if you don't know your audience, you don't publish. In a digital world, you have to know what brings your audience back. What do they want to see? How can you engage them? How can you possibly keep their attention in the vast digital worlds of Facebook and Twitter and YouTube, and the list can go on? Because I understood audiences, I knew how to balance the happy on the left with the sad on the right. And I knew that if we inundated our audience with sad photos and sad stories every single day, we'd wear them down. We'd lose our reach and ultimately our fundraising. Which brings me to my next skill, understanding the narrative so we could get to the cash. In academic writing, a clear narrative is imperative. In the rescue, a focused narrative is literally imperative to our survival. I had a friend one day say something to me, "LC, man, you find really sweet lives for these dogs." And that day, the narrative of street life to sweet life was born. It's one of our dogs. Now, every dog's story is told through the narrative of their street life to their sweet life. This has been really well received by our audience, and is frequently hashtagged on Twitter. The motto is the basis of our fundraising, and has actually helped us grow our social media presence. Now, no academic is happy without data, so while the best part of my day is definitely puppy breath, there is a behind-the-scenes job in understanding the analytics and the data of rescue. So every week, we get an email from the adoption sites with statistics and data. How many people are seeing our dogs? What's the click-through rate by city? In order to best focus our efforts, it's important to understand these statistics so that we can understand what dogs are desirable by what market. For example, in Portland, in Oregon, people really like a mutt. I had a guy ask me one day for the muddiest mutt I had. He wanted a wingman. I found him the brownest brown dog and shipped him to Portland. On the other hand, people in Boston tend to like smaller dogs because many of them live in apartments in the city, and small dogs are easier to manage. It's also vital to understand how these websites run their algorithms. Being able to keep our dogs on the first page of an adoption search engine and constantly boost their adoption profiles helps us move dogs more quickly, and it helps us save more lives. Finally, academics taught me how to persevere. It is perhaps the ultimate academic skill. Rescue is hard. There is never enough space or time or money, and academia taught me to deal with it. Figure it out, find solutions, stop whining, move on. And do all of this while multitasking and doing 10 other things. These skills have allowed me to make Reggie's Friends both financially and emotionally sustainable. We fundraise ahead so that we can take on difficult and expensive medical cases. We have a fund that we call the Flora Fund, who's named after one of our dogs. It's our savings that we use to pay expensive medical bills, and then we reimburse ourselves through fundraising. This model has allowed us to save close to 550 dogs with zero debt. So I may no longer be a traditional academic. My academic skills have allowed me to become a CEO, a CFO, a CIO, and Dr. Dog. I know we've all heard the phrase, those who can't teach. But the reality is those who teach really can do a lot of things. I spent a long time buying into the idea that successful academics were only found inside of the academy, especially in my post-apocalyptic, non-tenure gaining life. But I realized during this time, there are many alternate roads for academics. There are many, many organizations, both public sector and private sector, that can benefit from the skill set that an academic brings with them. I would encourage both academics and private sector employers to embrace a new narrative that the proverbial Ivory Tower is no longer the final destination for a successful academic. And for any of my academic friends out in the world who may have been denied tenure, there's life after, I promise.